Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back, everybody.
So, guys, please do subscribe both channels and get that little bell click. Check in every day as we will have videos up. As we know, obviously, they don't give notifications all the time. We hear that from people even on Bitchute and Brighteon and Rumble, and even that there is stuff being suppressed over there as well, which doesn't surprise us at all because, again, we're inside this dark cabal matrix system that wants to tell you what to believe, that wants to tell you that you are only this and you cannot do that. But in reality, we're here to basically break down systems and to allow expansion of thought and possibilities.
I love that. And you know what else I love about this is one thing that really can create a lot of damage are secrets. When secrets are kept from beings who might otherwise be able to use this knowledge and information to help expand themselves and their families and the ones that they love. But many times it's either hidden or it's put in such a way where if you do this, you're just talking with demons, and they make you afraid. They make you so afraid to step into the realm of expansion. And that's why I like to do this, because I like to see people free.
In this dark matrix, the thing to understand is that it's the demons that are giving us our mainstream perspective. And, again, demons, everything gets distorted. The original Greek daemon was a benevolent nature god or goddess or deity or deva. And again, everything gets twisted. Yes, there are these demonic forces, absolutely. But if this is Satan's lair, Satan, the adversary, that's literally the translation of Satan, means the adversary. The adversary of who? Of humanity, but not just humanity, the earth itself. In all life forms on the earth. Well, the satanic system would be that which is basically out there for mass consumption by the masses. That would just be common sense, would it not?
Yeah.
It's totally common sense. If you are inside a world controlled by the adversary, then that which is mainstream has to be that of the adversary. It really doesn't take a lot of thought. It shouldn't. It just should be given that it's a norm. So much of what we're given is a mix of truth with lies and distortion. Truth, because you're going to come to understand certain things. And then how do they control you knowing the truth of certain things? Well, we live in what we might term a multiverse. Our entire universe, as large as it is just one single cell in something much bigger. As above, so below. As within, so without. This is the manner of things. So when you talk about the creator of our universe, we could pick any one of these little bubbles and say, oh, there we are. Well, is that the same as the creator of this universe? Maybe, but not necessarily. Or that one? Maybe, but not necessarily. Again, there are many, many different creator beings, yet there is one source from which everything springs. And everything that is, everything that was, everything that will be, everything that could be but isn't, everything that has never even been conceived of is still part of source. So, that's something to, again, meditate on. We were just talking to a very intelligent family member, graduate of one of the best schools in the entire world, and yet there was still aha moments to have. We all could have these aha moments because, again, we are brought up in this system. It's the programming that we're given. The programming in this particular corner of this particular universe, which is again one of many, an infinite number of universes. And each one is a cell. A cell has a certain lifespan. And then, its time is done and there's a new that comes along. And when we look to the Vedic tradition, we see the lifetime of what they call Brahma, as Brahma is thought to be, in some traditions within the Vedic tradition, the creative energy of manifestation, that the lifetime of Brahma is 4.32 billion years. Billion years is the life of one particular entity. Well, maybe that's, accurate. Maybe it's not. Again, it's giving us a representation of something from a larger perspective. So when we look to the archangels, again, there is source. There's one source of which we are all part, and source has to be within us. Couldn't be any other way. And then you have these creator beings that are creating universes. We can envision them as being closer to source, in that they're closer to source in that, because again, everything has source within us. Everything. Every one of us has source within us. There's a universe inside you. And yet, we could view these beings as being closer to source in the understanding of the greater perspective of things. The beings that are creating these universes have a greater understanding than we do. And now, again, the higher self of each one of us has a much greater understanding of how the universe works than the part of us, because it's just a part of us that's in these bodies. There's only a portion of us that's inside this body operating at this particular time period.
Mm-hmm. And there might be several different versions of those who are in this 3D operating through a certain higher energy, but in a different suit. And in many ways, the illusion of separateness is just that. It is an illusion. It's something that we think is true, that we are separate. But ultimately, everything does come from that one source. So how could we be separate? How did we get here? Why did we get here? And much of it is because we did want to experience that separateness. We did want to explore who we are. And probably one of the best things I've ever been told through my guides is, when you look out into the world, just keep in mind that there is no veil. There is no veil. It's that turning and twisting of perception. It's that knowledge that you take in or don't. Everything is right here in front of us. Sometimes when you get something pointed out to you, you simply can no longer unsee it. So everything is right here.
Absolutely. So one thing that I think is good to get across is the understanding, again, that the entirety of you is not encapsulated in your body. This is what the term higher self is referring to. The higher self is that part of us that is beyond a single incarnation. It's actually beyond multiple incarnations. Why do souls incarnate? Why do they choose to incarnate? Well, it's simply a learning experience. Gaining knowledge, gaining experiences, gaining wisdom, and it's part of our soul growth and soul evolution. So all of us are creator gods in training. This is the reality of it. And even the creator of this universe at some point in time was on a similar path and at a point similar to where each one of us is right now.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big one. That's one where you sit back and whoa, yes. Creator gods have been where you are at, and look at your position in life. Everyone has control over some forms and things in your life. Everyone has a kingdom of sorts. Even look at your precious pets. Look at our children. There's certain things in their lives that to them are the most important things. And this is the beginning of one who is starting to understand what their own kingdom is. How far does it expand? What sphere of influence do we have? And it starts at the smallest, most innocent of stages, and it grows and it grows and it grows.
And so where does our knowledge come from? Why are Cindy and I talking about these things from the perspective like it sounds like we're completely convinced? It's because these are things that we are sharing that we know. And it's not like we're left brain conjecturing these things. These are, to us, things that we just know are truths. They're not things that we necessarily learned from this book, this scripture, that scripture. These are actually truly, most of this is stuff that has come to us from deep introspection and from knowledge that we've gotten from our higher self and our guides. And so, again, it's why it's so imperative to go within, because we can always, anybody could pick up a book and read and then decide, that sounds good, I'm going to follow that. And then sometime later, maybe you pick up another book and you say, well, this sounded better, so I'm going to follow that. And you might do that your entire life, jumping from one thing to another, to another, to another, and never taking the time to actually develop a still meditative practice to learn how to move the life force with practices like Qigong and other forms of energy work, to root in the ground, to tap into the knowledge that's in the earth itself, right below our feet, to even do things like tap into the consciousness of a tree, which is another technique that can be learned in different traditions, from Qigong to shamanic traditions. We could tap into all sorts of knowledge all around us all the time. And, this history of this world, even though it's been revised so much, twisted, distorted, revised, it's all there. You can tap into it. But you're not going to get it, really, by just jumping from one source to another. So now you're born again, next day you might be Muslim, and then maybe you'll be a New Ager, or maybe you'll be an atheist or agnostic. Maybe you'll just grow frustrated. Going within is the best, strongest, most important thing you can do. And trusting what comes from within. And again, this is why we stress so much taking care of your temple, per se, your body. Because if you're taking in poisons and things that distort your consciousness, it's going to be very hard to get a clear view. And this is what the dark side banks on. And they're counting on it. They are putting so many frequencies out there with their towers, with their Wi-Fi, with all sorts of different programming and movies and shows and energies coming off your smartphone, your computer. All these things, along with the water, the food, and other more darker things, are all about obscuring your ability to see through all the veils of illusion that are all around us. So when we look to these beings, these archangels, right? When we start thinking about sacred geometry, we think about the mystery traditions. And, some people believe rather erroneously that the archangels belong to the Judaic, Abrahamic Christianity, Islam, and Judaism, and that tradition alone. No. These forces are not the result of any one tradition, nor even of just humans on this planet. These are forces, in the case of the archangels, that they might be working on more than one of these different universes at any one time. The beings in perhaps multiple universes know these beings. Will they have the exact same name? No, but names, again, are something that we construct. They're a human construct. But these beings do have their own signature frequencies.
Mm-hmm. right? You know, when it comes to names and labels, that is very much a man-made construct that we need to do to have the experience that we're having in this 3D form. But when we are looking at information that is without of our realm of 3D vision, everything is in frequency, and you recognize through like instant telepathy. So if you are conversing with these beings, the information is so fast you could download a whole novel within the moment of a couple blinks of an eye, you know, having a deep breath. You just get so much information. And time, you know, time is also another illusion. Time is a very important illusion for us to experience in the 3D, because it allows us to have these experiences in a sequential way that our minds and bodies can make sense of. It allows us to put experience to that in which we came here to do. So, you know, even though, yeah, they're labels, they're still very, very important for our journey here on this planet, this universe.
There was a comment from somebody on Evolutionary that was saying, wait a minute, you were talking about channeling or communicating with Yeshua, and then you're talking about aliens and communicating with aliens and then these other beings. Well, yeah, why would you think you couldn't? What do you think is different about Yeshua than an extraterrestrial of any particular type, and comparing that to something we might call a deva, an angel, a nature spirit? Again, it's all consciousness. It's all consciousness. Consciousness takes many different forms, but it's all consciousness. Do you think you're always in a body? No, you're not always in a body. You're out of a body more than you're in a body. You know, this is part of the dark misunderstanding. And people will think that we were created by a particular God. Well, you know, when you get down to it, the soul, per se, the source spark, might be a more accurate way of describing it. That never really was created. That always was. Consciousness always is. Now, we do change our vehicles. We go from one state of being to another. When somebody dies, like in the case, again, we'll bring up Zeke. You know, my beloved black brindle pit bull who passed on, less than a year ago. When his consciousness left through the spinal cord, at first he was still holding the shape of a dog. He still takes the shape of a dog, and he's still around us. And we could still sense him, and Cindy could still see him. Every now and then I'll get a glimpse of something, some movement. But Cindy could see him clearly. Now, at first, he was basically thinking he had to walk through doors, but he didn't. He could walk right through the doors, but he would wait. And we put in a dog door, and he was really glad we put a dog door in, because he could do like the other dogs and just walk through the dog door. But the reality is, he then discovered later on that he could turn into an orb, because when you see spirit orbs, they're just people. Spirit orbs are people. They're consciousnesses. So once we kind of start to disassociate from our physical body, we go from that classic ghost, apparition type thing where you see somebody in a human shape, but yet it's kind of ethereal, like you could see through it, to looking more like an orb. And in the orb form, we just fly everywhere. Anywhere, you want to think about a place, you could just think Tokyo. You're in Tokyo. Just like that, instantaneously. If you wanted to, you can think Mars, boom, and then you're on Mars. Remote viewers can do this as well, and we can train the consciousness to do this, to put ourselves in other places, but that's another topic for other videos. What I wanted to share here was two archangels that you might be familiar with. The Archangel Metatron and Archangel Sandolphon. And so these are archangels that are thought of as being brothers. Some traditions even call them twins. Yet they are different. They are definitely different things. Yet the archangels themselves will refer to all of their, well, corresponding archangels as brothers. That's the term that they use, my brothers. And so again, Archangel Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Oriel, those are the ones that we're most familiar with in most of the Western world, but there are others. There's actually thousands. There are perhaps even more than thousands, but we do know of that there are at least thousands of these beings. What is their main purpose? They kind of keep order, and they keep order not just in this universe, but in other universes.
They have a lot to do with expansion and how expansion occurs. They have a lot to do with the elements and how the elements are bended and twisted to bring about expansion in consciousness. So they do have a lot to do with Kali Yugas at all stages. And now is a time where we're starting to get very familiar with them, because they do come to people, they do talk to people, they find their ways into so many people's lives, but people think, oh, it's just an accident. You know, this web page came up and I don't know why, but here's this angel. That's not an accident. That's information that made its way to you for a purpose. So they do. They have a lot to do with our influence, and they have a lot of power, but they don't always necessarily agree with everything. And I know that might seem strange, but just keep in mind, as above, so below.
Yes, exactly. So I just want to reiterate again, just a touch before we go deeper in here. And this is one of the distortions that humans have on this planet, is that you might perceive that beings such as Buddha or Yeshua or Krishna or Kuan Yin or Isis Aset, or any one of a number of these different beings that we might view as harbingers of the light, as benevolent entities that are trying to help humanity. They don't work against each other. I mean, this is the basic fundamental 101. And this is such a distortion. If you don't think that Yeshua, Jesus, would have a positive vision of Krishna, for instance, you're totally out, and not even left field. You're not even on the playing field. These beings all work together. They don't have huge egos. They don't demand worship. The only one that demands worship are those that try to enslave humanity. Yet, if you go up before a judge and you're drawn to court, you're not going to get a good result if you say something derogatory to the judge. If you call him names, put down his tie or his shirt or his whatever it is, it's just not respectful. So we do address them in a respectful manner, but they don't demand worship. This is only something that you'll find the dark ones doing. They demand worship. They demand your reverence. Now, when we look at life as a gift given to us by this particular creator being for this particular universe, and we feel love and gratitude, that's beautiful. That should be expressed. But it's not demanded. It's not an or else, or you're going to go to an everlasting pit of fire to be tortured. No, again, that's the belief structure that the dark ones, this dark matrix, with, again, the beings that are acting as if they are the creator of the universe, but they're not. These beings reside on lower fourth density. Yes, they do have technologies that might look amazing to us here on Earth. But the reality is, if your vibration and frequency is relatively high, and you're holding a lot of love and compassion in your heart, when you're sleeping and you're in fourth density, you're way above where they can touch. They're not above you. They're in fact below you. They want to put lead weights on and anchor you down to their reality. Everything you see going on in this world is all about anchoring souls to a lower frequency to keep them company.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what they want to do, and they actually raised up with the sense that, oh, they have to have a certain belief system, and this is the right belief system, and you have to follow this, and to be part of this belief system in this religion, you have to do X, Y, and Z every day, and you need to dress in a certain way, you need to say certain words, to basically influence you into holding on to this religious belief system and keep your energy flowing in a way that's advantageous to them, in a way that's not free to us, but it gives them an advantage, because we are then channeling our energy into an entity that can and often do things that are harmful for their benefit, because this is what they are. It's just part of who they are. It's their natural way. This is what they want.
So when we look at the archangels, so Sandolphon is often basically correlated with music and the musical arts, as well as other aspects. And there are traditions that say that Sandolphon and Metatron are actually Enoch and Elijah and Enoch, I should say, in that order. And again, everything that we see on this planet is really, it's an inversion, it's a corruption. Even the mystery traditions have been corrupted. Every major interpretation, again, if you want to really discover the truth, then, if you're inspired by this, and hopefully you'll develop your own practice of going within and focus on these beings and see what comes to you and trust what comes to you. Maybe take a notebook, and when you're going into meditation, when you come out or even during, you can jot notes down, impressions. What are you feeling? What are you seeing? What are you sensing? And trusting that. Sometimes the trusting is the hardest part. Like when you hear something and something pops into your head and there's no direct line of thought that goes to it. Often that's coming from a guide, or that's coming from the higher self, or it could be coming from, for instance, if you're trying to contact Sandolphon or Metatron, it could be coming from them.
If I can just say that one way we lose our ability to trust that information that's incoming starts at a very young age. When they send us to preschool, kindergarten, first, second, third grade, they start giving you this information that you need to regurgitate in a certain way for it to be right and for it to be correct. And this is where the breakdown of trust begins, because they're giving you this platform of information that must be set inside of these little scientific boxes, and if you don't give the right answer in accordance to them, what they think the right answer is, well, then you're wrong. So the breakdown of trust happens very, very, very young. So it's natural for people to just assume and think, well, that I don't think it was me. I don't trust what I think, and that becomes their baseline emotion, their baseline frequency. But as you start to awaken and you realize that there's more out there than what you have been shown, that things just simply are not adding up, you help yourself. You start to eat better. You start to maybe not sleep better. I can't say sleep better, because an awakening can be very, very difficult. But you question a lot of things, and you finally come to the understanding that, wow, this is just, I got to figure this thing out. I have to figure it out for me. So you start to go on your own path. And that's where we kind of like to direct people, is open up to your own path and leave the rest of that indoctrination behind, because it's not going to serve you here.
So when, again, we're talking about these two archangels, one thing that, we want to get across is, they're not at war with each other, but they see things differently, even though they've been said to be brothers. And yes, in many ways they are brothers. Yet they do see things differently. So Metatron, per se, believes that what's happening in the universe, well, our big question is, in this planet, it's all about the AI merger. Now, there's different types of AI. So there is a kind of natural AI that has been created and utilized by some more technologically advanced civilizations than our own here, and even perhaps more advanced than those that we would say are part of the EGG, Anunnaki, Draconian, and there's many other extraterrestrial groups also associated with that dark AI. The dark AI that we see envisioned as a black dragon, per se. That is different than the AI that Metatron is actually infused with, because Metatron actually does have a form of AI infusion.
And that's exactly right. The way you said it is there's two different kinds, and he is infused with the light. Now, we've had direct dealings with Metatron, and I do appreciate his presence, and I do appreciate who he is and the power that he gives people. What he wants to do is infuse the good AI, the white AI, into people's lives to bring about expansion. He feels that that is very much possible, and to somehow save the system that we're in through the white AI.
So, the way that things would be approached from Metatron's perspective to Sandolphon's perspective might be very different. Sandolphon believes in totally the natural order of things without the AI infusion. Most definitely feels that the organic creation is the way to go and stands by that. Now, again, this dark AI system that has infiltrated this universe, it has also been in other universes as well. From our understanding, that has been eradicated, and I don't know if Cindy could give me any updates or any deeper info, but from our understanding is its last vestiges are here now, and it has been removed from other universes. Now, the AI that Metatron's a part of is not that dark Draco AI system.
Yeah, we definitely want to bring attention to that. It is separate. Metatron is working with a lot of starseeds, a lot of children who are using things like tablets and all of these new systems that are out into the world to try to bring expansion. He's a guide to many of those, to keep them in a place where they are not taking in the darker forms of AI. So for him, that is very, very important. He does help a lot of starseeds. But there is some differences that we need to understand and know that, yes, this darker form of AI, we are still in many ways at war with it. It does take on our essence if we allow it to, and this information goes back to feed that black dragon that I've talked about. And I wish I had better vocabulary words to explain all the things that I see and I feel, but this is the best I have. This information, I think, is really good for you if you are going through an awakening, you are looking for direction, that these archangels are here to help, and they are all about expansion. And which path are you going to take? Which path feels good to you, and not necessarily what really resonates with you, because resonating can be something that's conditioned. So we have to go deeper than that. We have to go deeper into the soul and find out, well, which path do I want to take? Because we're at that point right now. We're at that point where it's time to decide.
Yeah, and we've talked about this a million times. When we're in the different yugas, because we go through these cycles. So this looks like a circle, but in reality, it's much more akin to a DNA spiral. It is a cycle, but they're not always exactly the same, even though the same sort of energies are in play. Again, when we're in a golden age, the Satya Yuga, the truth age, then we're basically in contact with beings of fifth density and above that don't lie to us. And when we are in the silver age, you can get some of these darker beings that can start to whisper in people's ears, so to speak, but they're still not in control or in power. When we get into the Dwapara, then there is a lot of the wars and the conflicts. This is where you have those wars of the gods taking place. And then when we enter the Kali Yuga, there's no more wars of the gods in the skies above us, because the dark side is the only one that we're around. And as we go out of the Kali, which we are now, into the Dwapara, we're starting to be exposed to more of the benevolent ones. And the dark ones are starting to lose their grip. Now, there's still going to be an influence around us, but they're going to consistently lose their power and their ability to affect our reality. So again, right now in the Kali Yuga, you better believe that anything mainstream is not the truth. That's just the way it is. Anything that is out there for public consumption, that is getting the stamp of approval or even disapproval, but yet is accepted by a majority, is still going to be twisted and distorted. It should only be obvious to those people that have awakened. So with these archangelic beings, they definitely have very, very different thoughts. When you look up to the Satya Yuga, why? When we look at some of these ancient megalithic, monolithic structures, are they creating with stone? Because they understand the bigger picture and the bigger perspective. They wouldn't poison the environment. They want to live in harmony with the environment in a natural way. So in that age, when we might have all the technology available to us that would enable us to live in a very complicated way, we choose to live more simply, because we're more in harmony with the programming of the original programmer, the creator being that created this particular universe. And we understand the bigger picture. And we do live much, much longer lives in that cycle. So, in fact, even though you might look at the golden age and see that it makes up more than a third, maybe it makes up almost, 35 to 40% of the time period, that might only be as many lifetimes, or actually even fewer lifetimes, than the Kali Yuga, which makes up a much smaller perspective of time. Yet in the Kali Yuga, our lives are very short. Why are our lives so short? Because by the time we figure out some things, it's already time for the grave, and to start all over again as an infant. If we lived 1,000 years, the world would have already awakened.
Absolutely. And it is very, very frustrating, because it does seem like we are awakening, and when we get to that older age, it really feels like that pineal gland is completely online. And I was just kind of thinking right now that we do have a dear friend that we've been in touch with, and her mother has passed. And one thing that really came to me, not just this time, but in other times with my own grandmother that had passed, my mom said that with my own grandmother, she said, well, your grandmother, she has dementia. She's saying that she's seeing these little kids running around her. And then our other dear friends said that they were saying her mother has dementia, because she said she was talking to angels. This is not dementia. This is the pineal gland really coming online. The sad part about it is this is the extent of the human body that we are allowed to live. This is where it comes to a stop. The body can no longer go forward. And I think that's very, very deliberate myself.
You don't think it, you know it. We we both know it. It's not something up for debate, and many people are waking up to that fact. So again, if you want to know what's the essence of this information that you're taking in, learn how to resonate with it. Feel it. What does it feel like to you? If it's anything that comes from a fear-based perspective, it's not from the original programmer. It's not from the creator of this particular universe, because to become a creator of a universe like this, you have to cultivate the benevolent energies. Yes, there is always a duality, because that's how we learn. There's going to be a duality. And really the main intent of this particular video is saying how even at the archangelic level, Metatron and Sandolphon have different perspectives, even though they are regarded in the Kabbalah as being twins, as being brothers of almost the same essence, yet they have a totally different way of looking at things. So from Metatron's perspective, his outlook is maybe we can change the system. Maybe we can infiltrate the system with light. And again, I don't want to speak for Metatron, but this is the interpretation that I have gotten. He, I think, is viewing it in a little different term, whereas from the Sandolphon perspective, the system, and again, this is my own lens, which is created. It's one of the things we should realize. 2, everything that we view is through our lens. Your lens, my lens, Cindy's lens, the lens from, all these different people out there that are regular family members. Even though for the most part we might be in agreement, we still have our own perspective, and it goes all the way on up, as above, so below. The archangels, even those that are deemed brothers and twins, have a different perspective. So, with Metatron, it might be that, things like Bitcoin and a digital money system is not demonic. Whereas to Sandolphon, it's just, hey, there's no use there. There's nothing there. And so even on these higher frequencies, there is disagreement. And, we can speak from our perspective, and we should, clarify that too. This is our perspective. There are others out there. There are many people that you guys, I'm sure, could list. Dolores Cannon comes to mind for me, as other people that channel. But again, we're always channeling through our lens. Cindy's brain, has gone through what it's gone through. It's got all its downloads from childhood. It's got all its teachings, and again, I remember my 5th grade math teacher, and I remember the smell of coffee and cigars because that's what he always smelled like. And so, that was like my first introduction to algebra and stuff, and it wasn't a positive one because I couldn't stand the way the classroom smelled. And these type of little things like that can stick in your mind forever. And then I think back to my 4th grade homeroom teacher, and I loved her. She was a doll, and she would just take us away, in these amazing stories that are so Tolkien-esque. Again, every little thing that we have experienced is written in the ether. Mm-hmm. Every little thing that we have experienced, your annoying brother and sister, whatever, all these different things, they all cloud shape and help form our opinions. So we have to recognize that we're going to, again, if you had an accident happen and you had 5 people witness it, there's going to be differences. This is one of the things we have to understand. Now, from our perspective, we see it more that we see that the system is one that needs to be changed totally. I don't see it coming through from within. And that's just me, and that's my perspective, and maybe that's more of the perspective of some of the archangels. And each one of them, we were basically contacting them yesterday, getting different perspectives. And yeah, even talking to Archangel Michael and comparing his perspective to Gabriel and Raphael, they're all a little different too. Every one of these beings is a unique consciousness, and that doesn't invalidate any of them. They all have their own perspective. So with Metatron, maybe, his perspective is we can infiltrate the dark AI with good AI and then turn up the amperage, and the light will disintegrate the darkness.
Mm-hmm. Which is a very fair thought. Maybe we can do that. But from our experience with the system that we're in, that's an impossibility. That's an impossibility through our perspective. Because again, when we grow up and we have these experiences in our life, it does in some way, shape, or form affect us and how we view the world. And that's why when you're going through an awakening, it is so important to hear from your guides and angels to heal those emotions, at least to the best extent possible, because then you're getting a clear view. Then you're getting a clear understanding that's not quite as angled, or to a certain degree of influence, so the information can be clearer depending on how well you have unlearned and then learned everything again based upon how you now believe, and what information have you left behind and what information did you choose to keep. That's a really important thing to know.
So, there's not a war in heaven amongst these angels, but then again, they often do agree to disagree. Yeah. And sometimes we have to do the same. But at the same time, it's not, when you understand certain aspects of the system. Now, when we're talking Metatron, we're talking a good AI that's from a much, much higher vibrational frequency. That's not the dark AI. That's not what is, infecting this planet right now. That's very, very different than that black goo. That's totally, totally different. So this is, a very high level artificial intelligence that's utilized by benevolent beings. And again, is an archangel a terrestrial? No, because you can't limit him to Earth. I mean, Earth can encapsulate the energy of an archangel. The archangel's energies are too vast to be encapsulated on any one planet in its totality, again. So this is something to realize. It's all part of uncovering and unraveling and deprogramming ourselves, because we do have to deprogram ourselves. Because again, many people have come to the realization that everything you have been taught is a distortion and a lie. And it's given to you by the adversary of humanity, who is not just the adversary of humanity, not just of the earth itself, but also the adversary of these benevolent beings, such as Metatron and Sandolphon and the other archangels.
Right. Finding these understandings, that comes along with awakening, and it also comes along with shedding that no longer serves you. So there's many things that come across our lives that we hold on to for a certain amount of time because it does something for us, higher self or protecting ourselves. And that's where the realization starts to happen, is when you realize, wow, all of these things that I thought I knew, they're not serving me anymore. I need to know the truth regardless of what that might look like. I want to know the truth.
So if you're ever, looking at your belief set and saying, gosh, am I believing something as truly given to me by the creator of this universe? There's a very simple thing you can ask yourself. Am I believing what I am believing because it's fear-based? Am I believing it out of fear of punishment? Out of fear of being left out? Out of fear of not being a quote-unquote chosen one? Or am I believing it out of love and compassion for all beings, and unity, and coming together, and overcoming all the dark, divisive energies? Ask yourself, is it a fear-based system or a love-based system? Because they're very, very different.
Mm-hmm. And expansion, I feel, falls under a love-based system. And sometimes expansion can be painful, very, very painful. But when things are painful, we know that it's growth. It's like, think of pain as fear leaving the body. And then you are able to grow. You are able to now expand. So that's where we want to be. That's what the natural human nature, when we come from source, the natural need and desire is just simply for expansion. We need expansion. That's our core. That's what's built in our core system. That's what's in our hard wiring, is expansion.
There was one other comment that I wanted to just comment on briefly, and that was that the Draco, the dragon, the dark energy, has been here before us. It'll be here after us, and we can't beat it. It's not about us beating it. And yes, it was here. You could say it's going to be here before us and after us, because we're not going to be stuck in the lower hellish realms. And that's what it wants to do. It wants to keep people trapped in a lower fourth density existence. No, I mean, it's welcome to this fourth density, this lower fourth density. We're moving on up. We're getting out of the slums. Humanity is getting ready to leave the slums, so the dark AI can keep it for themselves.
And there's so much information in the golden age. I mean, right now we are starting to awaken to those past lives, so many of us from the last golden age. So as we awaken and our light body is being turned on, remember, we are having our past life information clicked on. And that's another reason people get so hungry for information. It's not necessarily that it's new information, but you're remembering who you are, and it's a beautiful thing.
So as always, may be blessed by the true creator of this universe and all the benevolent, angelic, and archangelic beings. Thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and also on Patreon. Much love. God bless and namaste.
Namaste.